Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. It is that time of the month. Time to talk about my favorite albums that were released this February 2024. And wow, this was an absolutely stacked month. Like, holy shit, I had a hard time even just limiting this to 20 albums. I could have easily listed more. There's more than 20 good albums that came out this month, but I gotta draw the line somewhere. Last month I got a little bit carried away, so I'm gonna try to never indicate more than 20 on these lists. Even that is too much, but there's so many good albums this month that I wanted to talk about, so you're getting a list of 20. I will say for this list, I'd say the albums that I have ranked like 20 to 15th are pretty good albums. Then from like 14th up till like 9 or 10 are a little bit better than that, and then the top like 7 or so albums here I think are really solid albums that you should definitely go check out. But if you haven't heard any of these, go check out all of them. The order on this ranking is sure to change over time. A lot of these albums just came out this past Friday, so I've only had a few days to listen to them and take them in. So yeah, order will change, but these are based on a lot of first impressions. Enough rambling, let's get this going. Coming in 20th place, I am going with Petrification and their new album Sever Sacred Light. So this is some US death metal. It really brings in a doomy vibe. I wouldn't call it like death doom. It just kind of has that doomy, slower pace to the death metal, but it's very heavy and crushing. Overall, pretty decent death metal record. Just cracked my list in 20th place. Up next in 19th, I'm going with Iron Curtain and their album Savage Dawn. So this band is from Spain. This is like some speed metal mixed with trad heavy metal. Maybe some somewhat blackened touches. I get a major Motorhead vibe from this album. It's just a lot of fun. You got ripping riffs. It's just speedy throughout. You know kind of what you're in store for with this style of music. If you're into it at all, go check out this album because it's just a great speed metal record. Up next in 18th, we're actually sticking with Spain with Eternal Storm and their album A Giant Bound to Fall. So this is some progressive melodic death metal. The best way I could describe this would be like the progressiveness of Opeth meets the melodic death metal of a band like Insomnium, kind of combining that together. Like, all in all, I think this album is a little bit overlong, but there are some great moments. If it could be trimmed a little bit, the result would probably be a little bit better. But nonetheless, I don't want to sound negative. This is a very interesting and engaging record. Go check it out. It's still definitely worth listening to. Up next in 17th, I'm going with Morta Skuld and their album Creation Undone. This is some more US death metal. This is just straight ahead thrashy death metal. No frills. There's no bells and whistles here. This is maybe not anything new or innovative in the death metal spectrum. This is just straight ahead old school death metal, but it's very enjoyable. It's well done. This band's been going at it for a while. Maybe don't get as much recognition as some of the bigger names in death metal, but it's a solid album that's definitely worth listening to. All right, up next, a one that's hard to describe. Wandering Oak with their album Resilience. So I'll describe this band as like progressive, blackened, folky thrash metal. I don't know. It's a very hard band to describe. You just got to listen to it for yourself. It's a very unique approach. They are from the USA. It's kind of all over the place. I will say this album is maybe a little bit uneven in spots, but there is lots to love here. There's some great moments. Yes, it's maybe not consistent throughout the whole album, but it's still very good, and spend some time with this. There's almost something for everyone here. Yeah, go check out Wandering Oak. Very interesting, solid album. All right, up next, let's move to Scotland with Hand of Kalliach and their album Corryvrechan. Probably mispronouncing that, but this is some Scottish melodic death metal with a major dose of folk. It's like melodic death metal, but with like these Gaelic touches in the background. It's a husband and wife that do this project, and her clean vocals that just like permeate it. They're just like ethereal and beautiful. It gives it this really like trance-like meditative state, but then it comes in with the harsh melodic death metal vocals. It's a very interesting combo, but it really works, and I'm digging this album a lot. It's only in 15th because there's a ton of good albums this month, but yeah, go check out Hand of Kalliach if you have not. Up next, going with Farsot and their album Life Promised Death. So this is some German black metal definitely brings in some post-metal elements, very much like Agalachian, you could say, if I'm making an adjective here, but it's got the Agalach approach of bringing in like these softer moments and some acoustic touches and clean vocals. This album is very unpredictable, which I like. It's not like you don't really know what's coming even partway through a song. It'll switch to something that you're not really anticipating, and I like that in my music. It's not just straightforward. All in all, a very good album. I dig it a lot. In 14th place. All right, up next in 13th, I'm going with Darkspace with their new album, -2. So this band probably doesn't need much of an introduction. Swiss atmospheric black metal, ambient black metal. I honestly was very excited for this album. I thought I would be putting this a lot higher than 13th place. I just kind of expected more. This one was a little bit of a letdown for me compared to their past material. This one leans way harder into like the industrial and almost like EDM atmosphere as opposed to the black metal. Like it's got the darker black metal tones to it, but I prefer black metal being more at the forefront. I'm not a huge industrial guy and definitely not an EDM guy, but this kind of, while there's elements of this in their past albums, this one really brought it to the forefront. And it's still decent. I put this on in the background and it's nice to drift off to, and it's like very trance-like, but I just don't think I would ever put this on the level as some of their previous works. But nonetheless, go check it out for yourself, form your own opinions. Maybe you'll like it more than I do. Up next, let's switch it up absolutely completely with Striker and their new album, Ultrapower. So this is some traditional heavy metal from up here in Canada. This is very cheesy and goofy, over the top, like 80s worship. To me, this just sounds like it's what would be played in like a cheesy 80s skiing movie where they're like competing against each other and then just some like epic fighting music comes on in the background when they're gonna race down the hill. That's what it reminds me of. I mean, go check out their music videos. They're not taking themselves seriously at all. This will surely put a smile on your face. Probably not going to be for everyone because of its over-the-top approach, but it's just a good time. It's going to make you smile. It's a fun album. Go check it out. Up next in 11th, I'm going with Hyver and their album Noirceur mytique d'autrefois. So this is some French symphonic black metal. The man behind the band is Hyver, or Hyvermore, who is the vocalist in both Hauntenoz and Vehemence. But this was his kind of solo project where I've read online that this was kind of his tribute to his teenage formative years when he was discovering symphonic black metal bands like Emperor and Limbonic Art. And this sounds like that. It sounds like it's inspired by that. So if this is his tribute to that, it's very well done. It's got that same kind of production style, same kind of vibe as that mid-90s symphonic black metal. And just, yeah, a really cool album. This one only just came out Friday, so I haven't spent a ton of time with it yet. This could even rise higher. But based on first impressions, I'm really digging it. Just missed out on the top 10, but in time, it might rise even higher. All right, now we're into the top 10, my 10 favorite albums from the month of February. So in 10th place, I'm going with Stygian Crown and their album Funeral for a King. So this is some epic doom metal. It brings in some like death metal touches, but not in the vocals. When I say death metal, I mean in the riffing styles. This is like Candlemass meets Bolt Thrower in terms of riffs, but then with unique female vocals that are over top, which are probably going to be an acquired taste, maybe not for everyone, but I enjoy them. All in all, this album is pretty killer slab of epic doom. There's one song on here that kind of seems out of place to me anyways, but other than that, I dig the whole thing. So maybe that one track holds it back from being higher on this list. But nonetheless, I don't want to sound negative. This is a very good epic doom album. Go check it out. Up next in 9th, let's stick with some doom, but more on the death doom side with Spectral Voice on the new album Sparagmos. So this is some US death doom, features members from Blood Incantation, but this is way on the doomier side than what Blood Incantation does. It's got moments that are bordering on like funeral doom, but then other faster moments that are almost like straight ahead death metal. And it's just a suffocating atmosphere. Like, this is scary stuff. It's heavy. It's going to weigh you down with how crushingly heavy this is. But yeah, very good death doom album. It's in 9th place. Could be higher, but I like all these other ones. Maybe even more. So let's see what's coming up next. In 8th, I am going with Griffon and their new album, De Republica. So this is some French melodic black metal. very similar to a band like Darkenhold or Kalliach. It's just got these melodic guitar riffs with this, whenever I'm talking about French black metal, I'm always saying like it's got a medieval flair. This one's maybe not as heavy on the medieval flair, but it's still there. It's a concept album, but I just absolutely love the riffs and the approach. It brings in different vocal styles here as well. Just a really well done album. That's why it's in 8th place. All right. At the beginning of the video, I said my top 7 was where it kind of stepped up a notch. This is the point right here. These next 7 albums, great stuff. Go check these out. In 7th place, Hulder with Verses in Oath. This is a one-woman black metal project. She did bring in a session drummer and bassist, I believe, for this album. But this is a very old-school black metal approach. I absolutely love the riffs and atmosphere. The vocals are a little bit different than typical black metal. She's got like a lower register, but then she does some cleans as well. And it's just, all in all, a very good album. I don't really like the album cover. That's my one knock on it. But not to say what the album cover looks like holds anything back from the music. It doesn't, but could have made a little cooler of an album cover. That's just my nitpick because I'm picky and I like a good album art, and this one seems kind of boring, but I digress. The music itself is awesome. Solid black metal release. Go check out Hulder if you haven't. Up next, I'm going with Ihsahn and his self-titled album. So, of course, a man that needs no introduction, longtime member of Emperor, here on his solo project. This is like extreme progressive metal. So he's still got that black metal influence with the raspy vocals, but here he's really dialing up the orchestral arrangements. Like, they're at the forefront of this music. It's just the way he composes these songs. They're so well constructed, and this is just a very enjoyable prog album. His clean vocals sound possibly better than they ever have on any other album, and he's still got that typical black metal rasp. And yeah, just an amazing album from start to finish. The fact that this is in 6th seems a little crazy to me because of how good this album is, but the next 5 I'm going to talk about, I possibly dig even more. So let's find out what those are. Talking about the top 5 albums from February now. In 5th place, I'm going with Nemedian Chronicles and their album The Savage Sword. So this is some heavy / power metal from France, but when I say that, this sounds like German power metal. This is a huge old school Blind Guardian worship here, which that's going to win me over right away. Blind Guardian is probably my favorite band of all time, so anything that's trying to sound like that is going to be right up my alley. This whole album is like a concept album about Conan the Barbarian, and even the vocalist sounds a lot like Hansi from Blind Guardian. Not exactly, but you can tell that's the style they're going for, like early Blind Guardian, the more speedy, thrashy era of the band. But it's not just like a rip-off of Blind Guardian. They're doing their own thing here, and it's just a thoroughly enjoyable album. It is a little bit too long, for sure. This is like 70 minutes. It does drag a little bit. A little more trimming might have made this a better album, but nonetheless, this is a very solid release. It's a lot of fun. Go check it out. Up next in 4th, I'm going with Solbrud and their album 4. So this band is from Denmark. It featured, at least at the time, features a guy from Afski, Ole. He has since left the band, but he was still present on the recording here. This album is split into like 4 sections. The 4 band members each wrote a quarter of this album. So it almost sounds like 4 different albums, but it's still cohesive. I would describe this as like Afski meets Pink Floyd. Like, it's very experimental, and with different songwriters for a different section of the album, it brings in different approaches, but it just really works here. It's another one that's probably a little bit too long of an album, but if you look at it like 4 separate albums, it is so good. Like, this one could be even higher. I wish Ole from Afski would have stayed in this project as well, because this is a great project as well, but I think he just wanted to focus more on his own band. I don't really know the reason behind it, but nonetheless, this is an absolutely stellar album. Go check it out if you have not. Up next in 3rd, I am going with one of my all-time favorite bands, Borknagar, with their new album, Fall. So, Norwegian legends that don't really need any introduction. They're just back with another mammoth epic of progressive Viking black metal here. I absolutely love this band. Anytime they drop a new album, it's probably going to be high on my list, because that's just how I feel about the band. This is another one that just came out on Friday, so haven't spent a ton of time with it. This could rise even higher. But yeah, my first impressions here are very strong. It does not disappoint in their discography. They have just put out solid album after solid album at this stage in their career. I mean, you got ICS Vortex, and you got Lars Nedlund doing the vocals, and like they're singing back and forth. It just really works. And the riffs, as usual, are great. Just progressive black metal at its finest here. I'd put these guys up there with Enslaved for like the style of progressive black metal. They're both kind of the masters in this specific subgenre or style. But yeah, solid album in third place. All right, up next in second, another album that just came out on Friday. Really, this last Friday really threw my whole list because there were so many albums that came out and I'm not sure where to place them. But yeah, I'm talking about Traveler with their album Prequel to Madness. This is the third album by this Canadian band. I think they have some international members now at this point, but they started off as a Canadian band. So I'm always going to identify them as Canadian because, hey, why not? I'm Canadian. Let's go with it. But yeah, this is like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest worship, but in a modern setting. I absolutely love this style. This is a worthy addition to their already stellar discography. Like, I absolutely love their debut. Their sophomore album, I feel like, was a little bit of a step down from the debut, but now this has elevated it back up. Only time will tell if I like this even more than the debut, but honestly, the vocals here are really great. This is just fun and catchy. The melodies are going to stay with you and stick in your head. This is just an amazing traditional heavy metal album. Probably gonna wow, I can't even talk. This is probably gonna be getting a ton of listens from me over the next little bit and over the course of the year. But yeah, if you have not heard Traveler, change that. Go check out all their albums, but definitely go check out their new one. So that just leaves one, my favorite album from the month of February. Drum roll, here we go. Dwarrowdelf with their new album, The Fallen Leaves. I say they, this is a one-man band. This is a one-man project from the UK. This is epic black metal mixed with folk. When this project started out, it was more in the like summoning style of epic black metal. But here, the style has shifted. Even on the last album, the style kind of shifted here, but it still retains that core of epic black metal, but he's brought in like some melodic death metal aspects to it as well with the vocals and even some of the riffs, and he's kind of just forged his own new path and identity. While it still sounds like older Dwarrowdelf, he's really blazing a new path for himself and not putting any restrictions on what the album can sound like or what his musical style is. He can just expand it and throw in whatever he wants, and this album is just awesome. I absolutely love it. If you have not checked out Dwarrowdelf before, go check out all their stuff, but definitely go check out the new album because it is killer. My favorite album from the month of February. So anyways, as usual, I would love to get your picks down below. I know I missed a lot. Even some bigger name ones weren't on my list because I limited this to 20. There are a few other albums that I did enjoy as well, and probably a bunch that I just didn't listen to. So give me your picks down below. That's always my favorite part about these, getting new stuff to listen to from you guys. So until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews out.